Hey everyone, what is going on? My name is Archer Live, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing my LMG build for Payday 2. It's following hot on the heels of the LMG buff that came out last week in the Payday 2 console update, and it's just basically building a structure of skills around that to try and get a really good LMG build that works on really good difficulties. It's not quite one down viable, I would say, but it's definitely Death Wish and below. You could probably try it and make it work on one down, but the problem is the perk deck I've gone for is slightly unconventional, so it's not really a dodge one, and as such it kind of makes it difficult to use on one down. But I thought I'd just disclose that anyway. But either way, we're going to get straight into this by looking at skills, then I'll go through my weapons, and then we'll go on to some gameplay as always and talk about my thoughts on the build. So first off, let's go and have a look at skills and see what we've picked up. So to kick this off, we got Inspire, and by doing so, we also managed to get 2 Doctor Bags with 4 charges each. So we got Basic Combat Medic, Aced Quick Fix, Aced Combat Doctor, and Aced Inspire. It's up to you, Quick Fix or Painkillers, which one you ace. I don't really think it makes a great deal of difference, honestly. It's down to personal preference. I prefer Quick Fix, being able to deploy the Doctor Bags faster and just interact with them faster. It just makes a lot more sense to me. And then having 2 Medic Bags is really handy. But on top of that, having Inspire, as always, one of the key skills for a loud build, and most builds tend to have it because it's just so handy for picking up other teammates. But the more unconventional thing is that I've also got up the ammo side of things in the Enforcer skill tree. So we've aced Scavenger, aced Extra Lead, got Basic Saw Massacre, and then aced Fully Loaded. Now with this aced, it actually makes it really interesting because basically you can run off ammo pickups, but in a much better sense than in any other kind of build where it's like, okay, when you're low on ammo, you can run around and pick up ammo and you'll get some back. Literally, I find myself like with no less ammo than about 400 bullets. I don't tend to go anywhere below that with my LMG, which has 563, I think. Literally getting below 1 mag's worth of bullets in my total ammo is a miracle because you pick up ammo that fast. It's like 20 bullets in an ammo box or something ridiculous like that. It's honestly crazy. So that's why I picked it up. It just works really well. And on top of that, because the ammo pickup is so good in both of my weapons, I decided that, you know, having 2 ammo bags can be used for other teammates, and that way they're lasting longer through the heist. But on top of that, I've also gone in Technician and thought, okay, let's go Jack of all trades. And there is a reason for that, I'll explain that in a minute, but I've put 12 skill points into this Engineer subtree to try and divide my attention between ammo bags and Doctor Bags, so that between which heist, and depending on, you know, who's bringing what deployables, I can bring 2 Doctor Bags and 1 ammo bag, or vice versa. So I've got that kind of that dexterity, that flexibility. I can kind of switch between what I want to do, and that's just something that I like sometimes on certain builds, and I don't get to use Jack of all trades a lot, so I wanted to try and put it into this one. So in getting that, we got Basic Third Law, Basic Eco Sentry, and Ace Jack of all trades. You will have to probably ace a skill here if you don't have the Infamy skill point reduction for the Technician skill tree, which is from getting one of the sets in the Infamy tree, which is which one? I've got to try and remember because it's been a while since I've got Infamous. That one, that's the one. So if you haven't got this Infamy grid done, then you will have to spend an extra skill point to get up to where I've got. But I just thought I'd disclose that because in the past people have asked me that and I've kind of gone, oh yeah, didn't mention that. So yeah, we picked up Jack of all trades, and on top of that we've also gone for body expertise. So this is the thing, I've really divided my attention between a bunch of different skill trees here, and it all comes together quite nicely. So we got Ace Steady Grip, Ace Lock and Load, Ace Surefire, and Ace Body Expertise. And the key thing here is that it has been nerfed a slight bit, which I think was from the Master Plan update. It used to be that 100% of the bonus headshot damage was applied to the body once you ace the skill. It's now 90%. Doesn't make a great deal of difference, honestly, gotta be honest, but with an LMG, you want to be just spraying at enemies. You don't want to be aiming for the head with something as powerful and kind of unstable as an LMG. So making sure that the damage is boosted in the body as well as the head is key for this. And on top of that, having Ace Surefire, we can now pierce through body armor and cops die a lot faster. And then also, to add on top of that, we've got Lock and Load, which means you reload a little bit faster if you get 2 kills before you reload your mag. Obviously, the little spiel on the bottom for the ace bit, it's basically saying that the more ammo you have in the mag, the less of a boost you'll get in reload speed. Because there's so much ammo in an LMG, you will only get 40% reload speed increase at any point. But it's still better than nothing, and I just figured it was worth going for. Obviously, you don't have to. I could get rid of that skill right now, and I'd still be able to get to body expertise, but I just think it's useful. So if there's somewhere else you want to put 6 skill points, go for it, but that's just where I've put them. And then moving on, in Ghost we got Basic Duck and Cover and Basic Parkour, and in Fugitive we've aced 9 lives, aced Swan Song, and got Basic Running from Death. Before I talk about this a little bit more, you may have noticed I have not actually purchased Specialized Killing, which I could quite easily do and put a suppressor on my LMGs and I'd have even more damage, but I've done this with a very specific intention in mind, because those of you who don't follow Payday 2 on PC, you won't know there's currently a beta in progress which has changed a few skills and a few things about different difficulties. For one thing, it's made 1 down 3 downs now, although, you know, they'll have to rename it at some point, they haven't done that yet. And the key thing is, specialised killing no longer exists, so on PC, you can't get that 30% damage boost. And considering that we literally just got an LMG buff, which only came out a month or two ago on PC, I don't think it's going to be very long before we see that this skill goes for us as well. Once it comes out on PC, it won't be long until we see it on console, and I just don't think it's worth banking on that skill anymore. So that's why I've used those 12 skill points that I would have used in getting Second Wind, the Professional, and then Specialised Killing Ace. I've moved them over to Jack of all trades. So that's why I've put those 12 skill points there. So thought I'd disclose that. If you don't want to use Jack of all trades and you want to make the most of Specialised Killing while you've got it, go for it. But I figure I want to make this build with longevity in mind so that people can still use this and still pick it up and still know where to put their skill points after Specialised Killing is gone. But yeah, so Artful Dodger Subtree, just movement skills, no real need to talk about those. But in Fugitive, Ace 9 lives, as always, I've said it in every LAR build that I've done, you need the extra life no matter what you're doing, it's just super handy. And then Swan Song, even with the nerf, I mentioned this in the update video, even with the 3-second reduction in the Ace value for Swan Song, I really don't think it's been that bad. I honestly don't really notice much of a difference. Obviously I'm downing 3 seconds faster, I mean that much is obvious, but I really am not bothered by it, and I still think Swan Song is detrimental to a LAR build, and I'm still going to use it no matter what happens, so that's just my opinion. You might not like it as much now, but that's what I've gone for. And then running from death is for a very specific reason, is what I'm thinking is that maybe while you're downed, or maybe as you were downing, you didn't have much ammo left in your LMG, and you should probably know that LMGs do take quite a while to reload, so being able to reload 100% faster after you've downed comes in real handy, and that also applies to the secondary we've picked up, but we'll talk about that in a second. So that sums up my skills, and as I've said, it is very unconventional because we've literally maxed out 3 sub-trees here, which is not something I tend to do very often. I tend to spread my skill points across a bunch of skill trees, only really focus on 1 or 2. So that's why it's a little bit unconventional, a little bit different, but now let's move on and look at the weapons. Okay, so for my primary, we've got 2 options here. We've got the Buzzsaw 42 light machine gun and the RPK light machine gun. Now, I've only mentioned this because some people might not own the Gauge Historical Pack. This is only PC players, because for us Crown of Edition players, we'll already have this in the base game, so there's no worry about that there. But if you happen to own the base game Payday 2 on PC and don't have the Gauge Historical Pack as part of the Ultimate Edition, then go for the RPK. Or if you just don't like the look of the stats of the Buzzsaw and you'd rather go for the RPK, that's completely up to you. But let's just go through the attachments that I've put on these and then talk a little bit more about them. So on the Buzzsaw, we've got the light barrel, Competitor's Compensator, Lion Bipod, Stability Boost, and LED Combo. And then looking over at the RPK, we've also picked up similar attachments in the form of Fire Breather Nozzle, Lion Bipod, Accuracy Boost, LED Combo, AK Wood Grip, and then the classic stock. The bipods are an absolute essential on either of these, no matter which one you pick. The bipods just are absolutely amazing for this because you can pop yourself down in a fixed position and you can get really high accuracy and stability at a long range on any cops. Obviously you aren't able to move around, but the extra accuracy and stability depending on where you are sat. If you have to defend a specific area, then being in a bipod doesn't make any difference because you won't have to run around anyway. It just comes in really handy and I just really like it. Not to mention it doesn't affect your stats whether you put one on or not. So if you have one, put it on the gun. Makes sense. Even if you don't want to use it that much, having it there as an option is always really handy. Down to me though, in terms of which LMG I tend to use, I go more for the Buzzsaw 42 because I think all the stats work out better overall. More accurate, more stable, more in a magazine, more total ammo. Obviously total ammo doesn't affect me too much because I can stay at max relatively easily. But I just much prefer it. RPK is only better in terms of damage and reload time, which may swing it for you. You might find that's a bit of a more useful LMG. That's totally up to you. Either LMG works completely fine. I've used both. I just personally think the Buzzsaw is just that little bit better, has that little bit more of an edge compared to the RPK. So that's just my opinion, but it's up to you again. And you'll also notice I haven't put suppressors on either of these LMGs, again, because we didn't pick up specialized killing, so there was no need to do so, because all it would have done was reduce the damage, and we don't want that. So there you go, there's the weapons. Now, secondary weapon is the China Puff 40mm. Now you might think it's a bit weird I'm using this after the nerf. Well actually the damage being dropped from 1300 to 960 hasn't made much of a difference, at least not on Death Wish or below. 1 down probably maybe has made quite a bit of a difference, but for me I just feel like it still is able to deal with most units apart from Bulldozer. Just for some reason Bulldozers don't tend to keel over that easily with this. But it just tends to work really well against most units, even at medium range. Close range is best, but medium range can usually get them with 1 or 2 shots. But it just seems to clear out rooms really easily when perhaps you haven't got time to reload your LMG or something. Switch to your secondary, fire it, bam, rooms clear, reload your LMG. It just works really well, not to mention when you're down and you get up, with running from Death Basic, you can reload this at a rate of knots. It's amazing and it just works really well. So it's still one of my top weapons of choice for secondaries for all our builds. So Nerfing it hasn't changed it at all, and I'm really glad about it. There are no attachments on this apart from a team boost, because there's literally no need. Incendiary rounds, all they tend to do is just make the weapon really bad, and then the riot stock is only really useful if you want to use this in a dodge build, which we definitely can't make with this because the LMG has a 0 concealment stat, so it literally would never work. So that's why I've not put that on. All I have is a team boost, just for a little bit of boost to money and XP, because it's quite nice. And, you know, having so much money is really useful for me at $1.3 billion, but that's by the by. Anyway, we also brought the electrical brass knuckles melee weapon, the John Wick weapon pack throwing knives, lightweight ballistic vest, and our perk deck. Here's the weird one, it's Grinder. Now, there's a very specific reason that I picked this. I was recording Overdrill with some subscribers the other day, which was actually a really good amount of fun. It's really good that people are getting involved in the club, so thank you for everyone who has joined the club. It's much appreciated. But we tried it out, and we did a test run first on Mayhem to see if Overdrill worked. It still doesn't on console. I don't know why. But I used Rogue, and I had 50 dodge, and I had a 2-piece suit, but it just felt wrong. It didn't feel right with an LMG. I was downing a lot, and I kind of felt like it was just doing me more harm than good. So I looked around, and I was sat here, and I was looking at Grinder, and I was thinking, okay, well, you get health healed back for every damage bit, every little piece of damage that you deal on an enemy. My stuttering is absolutely awful. I need to practice the way I pronounce things. But every time a bullet hits an enemy, you get health back. So the more bullets that hit enemies, the more health you get back. And with an LMG, at least the one I'm using, the buzzsaw, that has a rate of fire of 1200. So a lot of bullets are hitting a lot of cops, and you're healing health really, really fast. So you'll find that in terms of longevity trying to survive a heist, you're going to have a lot more health, you're going to be downing a lot less, because you're going to be at max health a lot more often than you would normally be using other skill perk decks. So that's why I've picked it up. It's a really unconventional one, I do understand that, and not everyone will like Grinder, but that's personally the way I like to use it. I think it works really well on this, and I've never used it properly before this build, so it's really nice to find somewhere where I think it belongs. If you do want to change your skills around a bit, maybe not get Jack of all trades in the skill sets and go for armor instead, and then here equip muscle or armor or anarchist, that's totally up to you. I just feel that Grinder is right at home with this LMG build, and that's why I've picked it up, and you'll see in the gameplay I think it works really well. But that sums up everything, and as I've said, now we're going to move on to some gameplay, and I'll share my final thoughts on the build, what I think's good about it, what I think's maybe not so good about it, and then we'll just take it from there, and then open it up to the floor for you guys to leave some comments about your opinions. So, let's get into some gameplay and see what we think. The buffed LMG build. Now I'm really glad they finally managed to up the stats on these guns, because LMGs just never felt right from the second the game was launched in 2013. Something was just off, and LMGs didn't feel like the powerhouse they were supposed to. So to finally be able to wield them and deal so much damage and be able to actually clear out rooms the way LMG should let you, it just feels really good. And I'm really glad to have an actual working LMG build, and this is honestly one of the best builds I've ever built in my opinion. Just for my own preference, it's one I'm going to use a lot going forward because I just really like it. There's a lot of builds that I've done in the past that work well, but this one I just really like. There's something about it, about being able to have such crowd control and clearing out rooms of cops and doing it so effectively and so smoothly. It really is. It just feels right at home, honestly. Now obviously the main pro of this build is what I've talked about, which is ammo, and being able to just pick up just a few ammo boxes off cops and find yourself at full ammo again. It's really, really handy, it's really convenient, and getting to almost no ammo with this build is almost impossible. You'll find it really difficult to do that unless you are completely devoid of ammo pickups anywhere near you, and in which case you just have to use one of the ammo bags you bring along. But it just works really well, and that means that the ammo bags that you do bring, whether you bring one or two depending on the doctor bags you've chosen, they're almost never needed by you. You can use them for your teammates. Whenever they need ammo, you can give it to them, and you don't have to worry about using it yourself, and it just works a lot better for the team. On top of that, having the versatility of being able to switch between doctor bags and ammo bags, and for both of them to have full charges and be able to use at maximum capacity, no matter which one you pick as your primary and your secondary, it means that you really are flexible depending on what heist and what crewmates you're bringing with you. So it works really well. The only con that I have really with this build is the fact that it isn't completely one down viable. At this point I'd like to have builds that always work on one down, but it just isn't that simple. And with one down changing the way it is, especially on PC, I mentioned this beta, I think what they've done is, first off, they've upped the amount of downs from 1 to 3, which is the normal amount of downs now for every difficulty. On top of that, I'm pretty sure they've reduced the health of all one down cops by 33%. So one down really is just a bit of a grey area right now. I don't really know how they're going to go ahead with changing it because they've got another 2 years of support yet. Things could change, but I'm going to wait until this beta on PC is translated over to consoles, and then I'm going to start focusing more on one down exclusive builds because I do need to make more of those and I'm fully aware of it. But hopefully for anyone who plays Deathwish or below, this build will be perfect for you. If you're playing like an Overkill or below, this thing's going to absolutely decimate cops, and I really would be interested to see what you guys have. If you guys need any footage or something to share with me, that'd be amazing. But yeah, other than that, it's really just ammo and crowd control that really make this build stand out, and being able to deal a high damage output against all cop types, even against bulldozers to an extent. They can kill you a lot easier just because you haven't got, you know, high armor values, but being able to spray into a bulldozer's face base, even in Swan Song, it's a guarantee to kill them, and it works really, really well. And I'm just really happy with the build. I'm glad the way it's turned out. I was worried for a while I wouldn't get a decent perk deck after Rogue. Just felt really dodgy to me. It didn't really work out. But I'm glad now that I finally managed to find one that works. And with Grinder, I'm quite happy. Again, it's the first time I've used that perk deck effectively in a build. I've tried it before, but just never really found it worked. But at last, I found a skill set that really makes it feel right at home. I hope you guys agree with it. But other than that, that brings an end to this video. So if you guys have enjoyed it, please do give it a thumbs up. I've been really looking forward to getting this build out because a lot of people have been asking me for this. So I hope that it meets your expectations. If not, let me know what you think is wrong with it, what you do to change it. Offer some constructive criticism. Don't just tell me it's absolutely bad and then don't comment anything else, because, you know, I need criticism and constructive criticism and feedback to let me know how to make things better. Other than that, thank you all very much for watching this video, and if you do want to be, as I've said, in any more subscriber videos, if I choose to make any more, after the Overjoy one goes live, probably this week. I might put it up this Friday, I'll just see what happens. But if you want to be involved, then as I've said in the last video, the update video, make sure to join the Red Archer Live Club on Xbox One, and you'll be able to see when I'm going live, and when I'm recording, I should say better, and when you can join and play Payday with me. If you don't know how it works, feel free to go back on the update video, leave a link to it in the description, and you can hear all about it and what's changed and how you can get in touch. Other than that, thank you all very much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and guys, I'll see you all in the next video. Take it easy.